Sending your son or daughter to college is a milestone and can be a special but bittersweet time. Letting them know that their social life is about to kick up to another level, but telling them to be responsible, study hard, and remember why they are there in the first place, to learn. You never think as a parent it will be the last time you see your son or daughter leaving to college. It was the last time for these parents. This is the story of the Gainesville Ripper's murder. Sonja Larson, who was 17, and Christina Powell, who was 18, had just moved in together at Williamsburg apartment complex to attend University of Florida. Christina's parents hadn't heard from their daughter for a few days, so they showed up at her apartment. When they got no response, they ended up calling the police, who broke down the door that led to Sonja's room. They found Sonja on the bed, stabbed to death. This crime scene was like none they've ever seen. Her body had been pulled to the edge of the bed, her legs draped over. Her arms were above her head, and there was residue on her wrists that indicate duct tape had been used to secure her and then removed. She was also raped. As detectives went through the apartment, they discovered Christina's body in a similar position on the living room floor. She had been raped and posed also. 9 hours later, cops were called to a more horrifying scene, and this one hit hard due to it being one of their own. Krista Hoyt, 18, who was a chemistry honors student at nearby Santa Fe Community College, was not only a student but a dispatcher at the county sheriff's office. When she was a no-show at work, the deputies were dispatched to her place. She didn't answer the door when they knocked, so one of the deputies went around back to where her room was. Krista had been raped and stabbed, and her torso had been cut open. Her murderer had posed her at the edge of her bed, sitting up with her feet on the ground and her hands on her thighs. The most gruesome part was her decapitated head had been placed on a bookshelf and was looking back at her body. 2 days later, there were two more discoveries. The bodies of Tracy Pauls, who was 23, and Manuel, who went by the name Manny Tabata, also 23, were found in their apartment. It's believed that Tracy was the intended victim of the attack, but Manny was killed too. Tracy's body had been posed, while Manny's body remained in the same position as when he was killed. There were similarities between the victims and the way they were murdered. All the women were being posed. Their bodies had been wiped down with a cleaning agent after they had been killed. Police also noticed the victims' doors had similar forced entry markings from what could possibly be the same break-in tool. The DNA technology knew that their main suspect was a secretor and that his blood type was B. Julie's left breast had a bite mark on it. Luckily, there was still a well-preserved saliva sample in the evidence box. This is how they knew it was a blood B type. After some tip-offs from some concerned students on campus, police investigated University of Florida student Howard Humphrey, who had scratches all over his face and a history of mental illness. But his blood type wasn't B, and he was eventually released. Police went on a nationwide manhunt for their killer, sharing information about the discoveries on the news. They received a tip from a woman who lived in Louisiana who told them about a man who lived with her during the period of the homicides. She had told the police that he was a very bad person, and he had told her that I like to stick people. His name was Danny Rolling. Rolling was in custody already on a burglary charge. I told him we are investigating various different crimes in the area in other jurisdictions, said Special Agent Maines, and I specifically talked about areas that I knew he hadn't been in. Therefore, he would have nothing to hide. We want to try to eliminate you from this, and we'll give you a blood sample, Detective Hewitt recalled, and he voluntarily gave it. Rolling's blood sample was a match. Not only the same kind of blood, but an exact match on DNA. He was our guy. We got him. This is the monster we had been looking for. Florida police had enough evidence to charge Rollings with the murders, but when he pleaded not guilty to all charges, investigators had to start building their case for the trial. They gathered their evidence, which included audio tape found at a one-man camp near the campus apartments that had recordings of Rolling singing songs that alluded to the crimes. Before Rolling's trial started in 1994, he shocked everyone by pleading guilty to all charges. Rolling was sentenced to death on April 20th, 1995. Strapped to a gurney, convicted serial killer Danny Rolling died by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. Rolling was pronounced dead at 6:13 p.m. on October 25th, 2006. He sang his final statement to witnesses in a crowded room of 47 people, including relatives of the student victims. He sang for 2 minutes straight. Also, shortly prior to his death, Rolling admitted to the gruesome murders with the handwritten confession. William, Julie, and Sean Grissom were the first 3 lives taken by Rowling. Grissom was 55 and was divorced. His daughter was 24, was studying marketing at Louisiana State University, and Sean, who was 8, was a 3rd grader at Turner Elementary. He was visiting his grandfather, William, and Aunt Julie for the weekend and part of his recent birthday. This horrific crime inspired Scream, the movie, and its creepy ghost face. Scream's screenwriter, Kevin Williamson, was watching a TV special about the Gainesville Ripper at the time of the murders when he noticed a window in the LA home he was house sitting for was open. While he was originally fearful and paranoid that a knife-wielding killer could easily break into his home, it soon became inspiration for one of the most iconic horror film franchises in history. Alright, you guys, please subscribe, hit the like button, and until next time, bye.